you can see the attack I'm under. You can see the unprecedented attack with the mainstream media sitting in on my 2-week custody battle with my ex-wife, demonizing, lying, putting out horrible things on the front page of the papers, clearly trying to influence what happened, clearly licking their lips, hatefully following me around with just hate in their eyes, mercenaries trying to make a name for themselves, globalist black hat gunslingers trying to bring down the white hats. That's what this comes down to. So people claim they want to fight globalism. They claim they want to fight Agenda 21. They claim they want to fight the NWO. They claim they want to fight open borders and the Islamist invasion. I've had the top-level mainstream media contact me as globalist operatives, basically, and just say, Alex, all you got to do is back off Soros. All you got to do is back off the Islamicists. All you got to do is back off this stuff, and you can be a big conservative pundit. But if not, Alex, you're going to be destroyed. The word's gone out, lawsuits, attacks, whatever it takes, we're going to shut. You're going to be shut down. And you know what? If that's what happens, that's what's supposed to happen.
A terror to the rich ones began his wild career with a head that knew no danger and a heart that held no fear. Surrender now, for you see, we're 3-1. Surrender now, in the Queen's high name, or your living days are done. Drew 2 pistols from his belt, and he waved them proud and high. How fight, but not surrender.
I'm never giving in. Victory or death. But here's what's happening. They've miscalculated. We're getting record support, record traffic to Infowars.com. We're getting record traffic to PrisonPlanet.com. We're getting record support with people in the store. Record support, people signing up for the free newsletter so we can stay in contact with you even if they shut down my websites and, whatever. I'll still be able to send you messages and exclusive articles and information, give passports to anybody like Sudan, Somalia, Libya, you name it. And then the UN certifies them with no research. Then the State Department accepts that UN policy, and then the refugees are brought in unvetted. Out there that you hear that they're vetting refugees is bull. And the people out there that are promoting open borders, like George Soros and the owner of Chobani Yogurt and others, they want to say, oh, when these people carry out rapes or shootings or bombings or run over folks with cars, it's not their fault. They didn't call for it. They just called for bringing in the unvetted refugees and claim, oh, well, the State Department vetted them. The State Department is not vetting them, and you know that. And you see the headlines. Alex Jones sued by owner of Chobani Yogurt for criticizing refugee program and saying refugees are bringing in tuberculosis. I've got hundreds of mainstream news articles admitting that just in that area of Idaho, they've got a 500% increase in tuberculosis, and they point it directly at the third world populations that are pouring in out of the Middle East, North Africa. I've talked to 5 different lawyers now. We've got lawyers on top of it. Yeah, this is a terrible suit. It's filed in a terrible place. It has no bearing. It has no chance. It's a publicity stunt to just say Alex Jones is fake. Alex Jones isn't real. Look, he's getting sued for claiming refugees bring disease and crime. Next, he'll say that cows produce milk. Next, he'll say fish swim in the ocean. Next, he'll say George Washington got more done in his first 100 days because they were first establishing the new government and founding the country officially. Before we'd just been the colonies battling the British for 7 years. Other than George Washington, if you look at devastating globalism, killing TPP, starting the renegotiation of NAFTA and GATT, $3 trillion plus in the stock market, $300 billion in new jobs, moving to destroy Obamacare, signing executive orders to cripple it, turning our coal systems back on, killing the carbon tax. It goes on and on. Getting to resecure the border, attacking political correctness, just announcing we're a country again and saying it's about the people and the power of the people and that it's okay to be free market and that free market's better than socialism. All of that, culturally, societally, economically, and in cold, hard action is the rebirth of this country. There's Ron Paul Institute. We'll get Ron Paul on soon. I love WikiLeaks as candidate Trump, as President Trump, arrest Assange. Those are quotes. This is fundamentally a sellout to the military-industrial complex. When I say the military-industrial complex, I don't mean our military. I don't mean our great troops. I mean the corporations that use our country for globalism that don't want any checks and balances on the consolidation of power, the illegal spying, and the police state that's being used against the American people, not against actual enemies of this republic. That's a huge black eye for Trump. He's been talking about it for a month. Now they're starting to do it. Talk about a stab in the back. Trump comes out and says, I'm a globalist and I'm a nationalist. He says, I believe in nationalism, but I'll use globalism to actually get forward our aims. Well, that makes actually perfect sense. It's the way he said it. I've always said I want 1776 worldwide. I want American power through our ideas, through our industry, through our freedom, through our low taxes. As a tax haven, as they call us, as a dirty thing, that's a good thing to have us in the middle of the world tax structure. We used to be one of the best countries. We need to be competitive and have some of the lowest taxes. We need to be an example of free market. But again, the way he said it, it sounds like he's going back. Globalism, the system of the globalists, is unelected corporate world government. We don't want that. There are global systems of interconnected, multivariate systems of corporations, companies, private individuals, nations, and cultures. I don't want a single TPP, IMF, World Bank, WTO structure that's unelected that transfers national power to it to consolidate global control because it's authoritarian and the globalist aims are anti-human, austere, and very, very feudalistic in a modern sense. But if we can have global systems of working together through nation states and agreements that empower the nation states to work together with other freer nations against nations that aren't open and free, I'm all for that. I'm not against having an interconnected world where we work together. The world is getting smaller. We're spinning it that he's saying he won't kill NAFTA now. He always said, I'm going to renegotiate it. Because that actually passed Congress. He can't just kill it like TPP. He did kill that because it was done unconstitutionally by an executive action. Globalism is about multinational combines, corporate bodies dictating different trade deals to consolidate control and be anti-free market. Fundamentally, because Trump's trying to make the decisions under the executive branch that are his powers as a president for America and making fair deals, that is the opposite of globalism, which again is an authoritarian corporate global system. So that's why, despite the fact he's compromised some, despite the fact that globalists have made record profits by him turning up the global economy, they don't want that. They want a consolidated world economy. Donald Trump's announced a 20% import tax on Canadian softwood lumber. Everything they're doing is unfair against us, so he's simply going through with line items, signing executive orders, saying you're not going to get away with that. America was the richest, most powerful nation on earth 30 years ago. We were 4% of the world population. We had 55% of the wealth. Now we're 5% of the population. We got about 30% of the wealth. They've sold off our wealth. That's what globalism is. And I know you as longtime listeners understand that. He's under siege. He's got every major agency ignoring his orders. He can't even get rid of people at the IRS that were part of the whole persecution of conservatives the last 8 years because no one's following his directives. But he has been able with executive orders and other actions, because Obama used executive orders to shut down our industry. President Trump's used those executive orders to turn the industry back on. I want to be positive about the positive stuff Trump's done. 80% positive, absolutely transferring power back to the country, back to the people. But the 20% he's doing basically shows he's being more and more captured by the deep state, as Dr. Paul Craig Roberts warned in an article at Infowars.com last Friday. And that's what scares me, because he was basically 100% dead on until day 70. The last 30 days, he went from going perfectly straight, over-delivering where I just couldn't believe it the first 70 days. And then suddenly, Bannon gets basically removed as the top advisor. He starts turning a few degrees. But you turn a few degrees and stay on that for a year or two, you'll be right back where Hillary Clinton was, with them just out to get him and the Correspondents' Dinner admitting their mission was destroy him. For journalists at annual dinner serves up catharsis and resolve, and it says, quote, to topple the presidency. I mean, they admit it. And they see me as low-hanging fruit. They admit this. They see you, the listeners, through this broadcast as the Americana spirit of America that could rise at any time. They fear you. They fear that spirit. They fear that energy. And so they're looking, who's the most prominent person giving vent to this, having guests on, empowering the people. They're empowering him. Alex Jones, destroy him. shut him down, shut him up. And now they admit it everywhere. Get his advertisers, kick him off Google, have Google delist him. All of it's come out. Whistleblowers gave us the intel. Chobani lawsuit from the Federal Reserve board member in New York, running the shadow government. That's the Federal Reserve of New York that Trump's trying to replace. Literally suing me with George Soros' law firm that he founded as the founding client in the 1980s in New York. The person suing me, the Islamicist from Turkey, is a member of the New York Federal Reserve Board. Incredible power. That is the shadow government. And then the law firm's George Soros. Why is that? Because they understand we've got their number and they want to shut us down because we're a focal point and they want to intimidate everybody else. Ladies and gentlemen, they've miscalculated.
That it will tip over and capsize.
Don't know much about history.
I stand here as a freed slave.
While Putin is continuing to advance into Korea.
Majorities of the American people, and they are not with President Bush. Excuse me. I'm so sorry, President Bush. I never thought
You're such an idiot. The woman has a plastic face. She's got like a rubber wig on. She's a reanimated corpse toddling around, and she needs to be in a nursing home. And that's what's so dangerous about these people is and I'm not against old folks. A lot of old folks are smarter than I am and sharper than I am. But she clearly is not one of those old folks. She's never been that sharp. She's a rubber stamp for corporate interest. And she's the person trying to direct this war against the American people. She's the one that reportedly had meetings with the outgoing head of the Justice Department, Lynch, trying to get me arrested last year when Trump was only president-elect. And then her daughter goes on TV the day after I report this and says, Alex Jones is death-threatening me. I want him arrested. And I was like, oh, my gosh, my source was correct. That was Larry Nichols. They want authoritarianism. They're ready to do it. That's why all over the news they're saying, kill Trump. And then anyone else they see wearing a Trump hat or wanting to have lower taxes, we're dehumanized. We deserve to be beaten up. We need to be sued. We need to be attacked. We need to be kicked off the internet because, well, we're just not human. I went and saw a very powerful movie last night with my wife and my son, and that was The Promise with Christian Bale and others about the Armenian genocide that was over 1.5 million people. Now, if you look at the historical maps since the Muslims took over the Christian country that's Turkey today, Constantinople changed over to Istanbul, you will notice that at first they only conquered some of the major cities, and then over the next few hundred years, they killed almost all the Christians or drove them out of Turkey. The men they would kill, the women they'd keep and use in slave harems. The Christians had kind of a civilizing effect on the Muslims, so it was one of the more civilized countries for Muslims and became the new capital of the Ottoman Empire and the Muslim religious political system that it is. But you watch that movie, it's so accurate based on real battles, real things that happened, them killing little kids, shooting them in the back of the head. This is what the Muslims do. And the Armenians were just the few Christians left in very rural, mountainous areas, rural, mountainous, coastal areas, very small little enclaves, not allowed to have their own businesses, not allowed to operate in the rest of the country, as the Muslims slowly over the hundreds of years killed them and other Christian minority groups. And finally, they were killing all Christians left in the country of Turkey in World War I. Now, the Young Turks will not identify, funded by Soros groups, funded by Al Gore, funded by Al Jazeera, funded by Qatar. This is all on record. They will never admit the Armenian genocide. That's totally admitted. Documented by the Associated Press, photos, you name it, when it happened. One of the reasons the United States came in on World War I. The Young Turks was the name of the young political party that called for the extermination of Christians, namely Armenians. The Young Turks were the young gangs that wore the red fezzes you see in the movie. So well done. Everyone's got to go see it. Beating people, attacking people, killing them. But it began like brown shirts in the 1930s in Nazi Germany. It began with the young gangs going out and burning the shops and beating people up and pushing the Armenians out of the cities that were left there into the rural area. Then it was the men, the intellectuals, the newspaper writers, the doctors, the leaders. They were arrested as traitors and killed in the next 2 years. Then it was all the males that were young. Then it was all the males. Then it was all the women. And they're coming into the town. This is historical. This all happened. They're coming into this rural mountain town on a coastline, killed, who's left in the movie. All happened, documented, historical. All the characters are all real people. It's a historical film. And the mother won't leave. And he goes, listen, they've already killed everybody. They've incrementally conditioned you to accept it. Now they're coming to kill all the women and children. And they finally listen. They finally fight. That's some of the only Armenians, a few thousand that survived, 4,000. That's what they're doing to me now. They're starting to shut us down. If they can shut us down, they're going to shut everybody down. Then they're coming to kill you. The other major shows lying about me, the news shows lying, press following me around everywhere, twisting information. Why is InfoWars under such mega attack? Well, we know why. We're promoting nationalism, free market capitalism, local sovereign control, and comparing that to unelected globalism is very easy and very popular. And they know we're exponentially growing, so they want to shut us down as a way to intimidate everybody else and as a way to set a precedent. As I said earlier, first authoritarian movements shut down the independent press that is criticizing the power structure. Then it begins to actually persecute and go after people claiming they're spies or involved in espionage. They admit in the news 3 months ago, congressional hearings, I'm under criminal investigation for actually being a Russian spy. Should I play that clip again? I know it's ridiculous, but it's happening. State Department, Pentagon, operations. The average person in the military is great, by the way. Most folks at the Pentagon are the people that got Trump elected. They're the ones that leaked to WikiLeaks, but people running it are bad news. The stay-behind networks, the deep state operatives, the shadow government that won't leave.
The right-wing smear machine has gotten Alex Jonesified this election cycle.
There's a guy named Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
From InfoWars.
From InfoWars.
Yeah.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
One of those guys who believes Bigfoot was responsible for 9/11.
I heard that on Alex Jones, so it's true.
Claims that 9/11 and the Oklahoma City bombings were inside jobs.
The conspiracy du jour, Hillary Clinton is harboring a secret medical condition.
You just had to keep digging, didn't you, Alex?
I heard it on Alex Jones, so I know it's true.
Google is being accused of hiding negative stories about Hillary and her campaign by changing its algorithm to vary stories like the Clinton body count story. That's according to website InfoWars.
And this really just is so disgusting.
The juice of these pickles is on you, Alex Jones.
It goes right from Alex Jones, and it shows up in Donald Trump's mouth.
Hillary Clinton created ISIS with Obama.
The very fringe of the conspiracy movement, like Alex Jones, are being kind of incorporated into the campaign.
If Trump gets elected, he's going to be Secretary of Defense.
I think that Alex Jones is a lunatic.
Move, bitch! Get out the way!
Bill Clinton is a rapist. Infowars.com.
Bill Clinton is a rapist.
Bill Clinton is a rapist. Infowars.com. Infowars.com. Bill Clinton's a rapist.
The New World Order sends its regards.
For minions and the Stephen Colbert's, the fake news reporters, misrepresent what I say and what I believe, and then people like you come out and attack us. Here it is. Christian Bale on Donald Trump's dictatorship for dummies. He says we live in a post-truth era. That's what the New York Times, the Washington Post say, that democracy dies in the dark. Mr. Bale, Trump's far from perfect, but he's bringing sovereignty back to this country. And the talking point that he's a dictator is a fraud. And you're the ones in Hollywood criticizing him for not wanting to bring Muslims in from 7 unvetted countries like Somalia, Sudan, and Libya that are failed states where they still sell women into slavery and where they kill Christians and others. You were just in a powerful film, The Promise, about the Armenian genocide, where the Young Turks was the name of the political party, went around murdering and killing people, and finally the government joined in during World War I, killing the Christians. That's what Muslims have done in every country. That's what's happening in Syria right now with the rebels our government's been backing until Trump got in. So for you to call Trump a dictator for trying to stop unvetted Islamists coming in when you just starred in a movie about the true extermination of 1.5 million Christian Armenians is unbelievable. You, my friend, are the one that want to pose as a hero with some historical thing that really happened, but then in the real world actually aid Turkey that's threatening to burn down Europe and saying they'll have an Islamist takeover and a jihad if Europe doesn't open its borders to Turkey and submit to them when Erdogan is part 2 of the Young Turks. So learn some history and stop acting like a pseudo-intellectual fop. Stop being a fake liberal, Christian Bale. Okay? You're a disgrace to yourself. and you're following Hollywood talking points when Hollywood's been bought by the communist Chinese and the globalist and is an anti-American, anti-human, illiberal institution. You know what's incredible? In the movie, Bell's like, these Islamists are killing all the Christians.
To declare holy war.
They got to be stopped. They're killing everybody. You're crazy.
Oh, my God, what was that?
It's like Alex Jones. But see, I'm in the real world. Bale just plays people.
Armenians right now.
There's the Young Turks.
This is our opportunity. We will restore the great Ottoman Empire.
But see, now he attacks the real journalist fighting part 2 of this.
There's no war here.
100 years later.
There is the evacuation of the civilian population to a
They line up kids, blow their heads off, you name it. It's powerful. And he's not, and criticizes him for blocking unvetted Muslims coming in when he's in a movie about the historic Muslims in 1914, 15, 16, 17, 18, murdering over 1.5 million peaceful Armenians. Christians who'd been there before the Muslims took over Turkey. So, Bale, you can't have it both ways, bro. We're fighting the modern caliphate here. They're the ones that aren't tolerant. Statistically, Armenians, I've read it, are one of the most wealthy, successful groups through innovation and development, a very ancient culture. And I want to do a whole special, not just on the Armenians, but other Christians over the 1,000 years of Islamic control that they wiped out in Turkey. That was the, Eastern Holy Roman Empire. People don't know. This is the heart of Christianity. And how Armenia invented Christendom. People don't understand this, and America brought them here. We'll bring people here that want to have a free country, but sorry, the Muslims always act like they're nice till their numbers get high enough, and then they start killing. It's a fact. Does it mean there aren't some nice Muslims? Sure, but they're not the ones that are in control. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. That's it. For those that don't know, with Armenians or in Russia or anywhere, first they don't let you publish. Then they put you in ghettos. Then they arrest your leaders. Then they arrest your young men. Then your old men. Then they rape and kill your daughters and your wives. This is the same paradigm, and the globalists are openly coming. And I'm not scared. I believe America's going to rally. We're going to defend. But people need to know, I can't talk about a lot of stuff behind the scenes. You can judge what I've done by the fruits of the liberty movement, globalism, and trouble. But regardless, you know you're good, so you should take political action and be involved. We're devastating globalists. We're exposing their unelected, unaccountable planetary system. You think they like that? But we knew he was better than Hillary. We just got a great Supreme Court justice. The economy's coming back. Nationalism's here. Sovereignty. So many good things. We were in totally desperate straits. Hillary was going to get 4 to 5 Supreme Court justices, and they were going to move against the free press and shut everything down, open the borders completely, and bring us into full-scale globalism. I expected Trump to have to go sideways because Washington is so controlled, you got to make deals to even get stuff done. I'm not defending some of the bad things Trump's doing, but I'm telling you, we ought to be on our knees thanking God we don't have Hillary, because this isn't lesser of two evils. Hillary was a whole nother world than Trump, ladies and gentlemen, and wanted a lot bigger wars. And sometimes you got to have some smaller events to stave off bigger events. And Trump had enough ambiguity that they didn't get rid of their chemicals like they promised, so he could blow up where they were at under the deal they made with the Pentagon 4 years ago when the Pentagon told Obama to go fly a kite. So, and I told you Trump said that, and 2 days later he came out and said exactly that they didn't give up their chemicals, so regardless of who did it, he had a right to blow up that base, and nobody died. I'm not defending it, but you know what? It sure shut down the globalists, didn't it, and got his approval rating up, and I'm not defending it. I don't like us using their tricks. But from a Machiavellian view, from our perspective, it's working. He's either the greatest thing this country ever seen, or if he starts going sideways and doing really bad stuff a few years from now, then he may be the devil. Because my spider sense says he's good. And I knew his plan day one. I could instinctively see it. And now you see it unfolding. I'm synced. Doesn't mean I totally agree, but I know what Trump's going to do before he does it. Because I can understand the moves and what he's doing. I'm looking at the same chessboard. He could be so evil that somehow spiritually he's cloaked. To use a Sith analogy, and I can't see it. But I don't think that's what it is. I think it's more sophisticated than that. I think Trump's being used by God to really unmask these people, but he's using some of their own tricks at a level to absolutely scramble their system. But if you talk about defeating globalism, discrediting it, bringing jobs home, you couldn't ask for better.